Hi, you're here with Chris Levels on Politics and Prophecy. I am thankful to be here with you today. I give honor and glory to my Lord Jesus Christ, even as I bring this program to you, because without him, I would not be able to do nor say the things I do. I wouldn't have the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding of things that are going on in this world that I do. So I'm very thankful to him, what he's done in my life. Now, even though this is an internet show, Monday through Friday, I do a radio show on WSNL Radio, and you can go there, WSNL Radio, to hear it stream live, or you can go to AM 600 and listen to it live every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can also go to my website, www.realityrevival.com. You can listen to archived messages, get an update on the shows and what the topic was for that particular day. So come on board, join me in this journey of knowledge and truth of truly what's going on today from a spiritual as well as a secular viewpoint. But one thing for sure, we are going to have the truth. We are going to have some fun. We are going to learn some things. Right now, we're going to go to David Manning and see what he has to say as part of the Manning Report. Take it away.
Obama said to Brian Wilson the other day, I think he's of the CBS News, Evening News, one of those news programs, because people have been questioning his citizenship, his religion, and a whole lot of other things about him. He made the statement, I can't walk around all day with my birth certificate on my forehead. Hey, Mr. Long-Legged Mac, Mr. Obama, let me ask you a question. I'll tell you what you'll do. You don't have to walk around with your birth certificate on your head or your forehead. All you got to do is get that alleged vaulted copy of your birth certificate that's in Honolulu, send it to the New York Times. They'll put it on the front page. And I'll tell you what, if you will get that birth certificate, I don't care what it says, even it says if you were born in the Lincoln bedroom in the White House, if you get that birth certificate that you have been shamming everybody about over the last 2 years, send it to the New York Times and say, this is the one. And by the way, if you're going to open that vault, whatever that vault is, and have the Secretary of Health make sure that she calls Dr. Early Tates, and Dr. Wiley Drake and Alan Keyes to be there to witness the opening of that alleged vault where your alleged birth certificate is. All it takes, Wiley Drake and Alan Keyes, Dr. Keyes, need to be there to make sure that we don't get no Mickey Ficky slip done in on us in the process. And if you do it, then send it to the New York Times. And Mr. Obama, I will wear your birth certificate on my forehead for a year. And by the way, they'll say, well, you're insignificant and no one will notice. Have you noticed how many millions of hits I have gotten on the YouTube broadcast? So for me, wearing your birth certificate would be a pretty phenomenal thing. In fact, you pull it out, I'll put it on. No, you pull it out, I'll put it on. And if I put it on, the whole world will see it. I'll go on YouTube and all the local television, international television programs. But again, if you are trying to dodge the issue, Mr. Obama, and by the way, let me say something to all you people out there who continue to say that he is a U.S. citizen, which he is not, natural-born citizen. He is not. Obama is not even an anchor baby. That's when the people come across the border from down there in Bayou country, or Baja country, have a baby in Texas or Arizona someplace, and the baby is automatically a U.S. citizen. Call an anchor baby. Obama is not even an anchor baby. No, he's not. He's not that. He is a Kenyan, and everybody knows it. And he had two Muslim fathers, one named Barack Hussein Obama Sr., that pathetic iron-leg, bigamist drunk. And then there was Lolo Soetoro. I don't know very much about Lolo, except he gave Obama a new name, Barry Soetoro, which is what really Obama's name is now, Barry Soetoro. At any rate, the deal is this, is that you people who've been out there, you politically correct people who can have three versions of the relevancy of the truth and the irrelevancy of its application in anybody's immediate, if you will, needs or perceptions, which is the most confused state of being I've ever seen. This business about being politically correct has got to go. In fact, most politically correct people are outright liars. When I hear people subscribing to that ideology, I immediately run for my safety, because there ain't no telling what they'll do or say. Here, Mr. Obama, if you want to stop the questions about your Islamic faith and your Islamic, where you were born, get that birth certificate, send it to the New York Times, let Dr. Keys, Wiley Drake, and all it takes witness it, and I'll wear it. And then finally, change your name. Now, go ahead. Change your name from Barack Hussein Obama to Freddie Johnson. I guarantee you nobody will mistake you for a Muslim if you change your name to Freddie Johnson. I mean, hail the chief. Here comes President Freddie Johnson. I guess I'm being a little bit dramatic here, and perhaps I should not be, because I'm quite serious. I'm about as serious as the future of our nation.
And we're back. And then we're going to have more from Mr. Manning regarding Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin later in the show. But for now, I want to address the fact that there's a big uproar going on right now because of a pastor in Florida who intends to burn the Quran. Well, it's my opinion that if he chooses to do so, it's his right to do so. It is not going to make any jihadists in Afghanistan or Iraq shoot any straighter or less straight if he burns this Quran. It doesn't matter. It's his right to do it. If it's okay to burn the American flag, it's okay to burn a Quran. This is America, folks. Don't get drawn into the foolishness. Anybody that comes here from wherever country, whether it be Western Europe, whether it be Yemen, you are a guest of this country until you gain citizenship. Don't come here trying to enforce Sharia law. Don't bring your honor killings here. Don't bring your hatred of women here. Most of us, those that are Christians, that are truly Christians, are trying to live a life where we're a respecter of all people. But yet you come here, you declared war on us since 1979, Islam, not radical jihadists, Wahhabis, whatever. Islam. Islam says it's okay for you to lie to me if I'm a non-believer. Islam says that you can use me as a friend until it serves your purpose. Well, that's not America. And I, for one, am not going to stand by and just let you take over my country. So with that being said, wonder what side that Barack Hussein Obama is really on. And Michael Massey, who is a founder of Project 21, has his opinions that I'm going to share with you. And of course, unless I say otherwise, if I share the opinion, if I share it with you, that means I share it with the individual that wrote it. So here we go with Michael Massey. And he doesn't see any biblical fruit in President's life. You've had all these people coming out saying he's a devout Christian, so forth and so on, but we'll get into all of that later. In the aftermath of Obama's unsolicited, controversial dictates over the Ground Zero mosque debate, White House image makers are now trying to convince the public he is a devout Christian. Specific to that point, he may not be a Muslim, but I'm convinced he isn't a Christian either. As evidence of his devoutness, the White House has entered into evidence that he allegedly prays every day. Let me be clear. Praying every day no more makes one a Christian than walking across a stream makes one a fisherman. A true Christian, i.e., a born-again believer, is a person who has put his faith and trust in the person and work of Jesus Christ. including his sacrificial death on the cross as propitiation payment for our sins. His crucifixion and resurrection, and the understanding that this same Jesus will, at a time appointed, return to gather unto himself his own. Simply believing there is a God, or God with a little g, doesn't make one a Christian. The New Testament tells us in James 2:19 that the very demons also believe and tremble. In the book of Job, we have record of God addressing Satan, Job chapter 1, 6 through 12. Ergo, if Satan and the demons are acknowledged as knowing God exists from first-person experience, just believing there is a God simply places a person among a legion of not so pleasant things. My point being, prayer and belief, sans confession, repentance, and acceptance of Christ in one's heart is hot air. Being a, quote, good person, unquote, doesn't make one a Christian either. Nor does being an outwardly religious person. Being a Christian, devout or otherwise, is more than that. It's placing our eternal life in the hands of one we have not seen, based on a faith that many scorn. Neither do good works make one a Christian. John Gotti and Al Capone did many good works within their communities, and still others convicted of heinous crimes are said to have seemed like good persons. The mark of a true Christian is love for others and obedience to God's word. That doesn't mean acceptance of others' sinful and aberrant behavior. It means love enough for a person committing same not to want to see them perish. A true believer is a child of God, a part of God's family, and one who has been given new life in Christ Jesus. Intellectuality has no place with God. Self-anointed Christianship is a falsehood. Some will no doubt spew forth the plaintive wail of false teachers and those whose hearts have been hardened, and rail, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." But that, too, is most frequently misapplied. I'm not judging by appearance. I'm judging according to life and what biblically based Christian-like attributes Obama displays. What one thing has he done or said since taking office that can be unequivocally said to be the words/actions of Christ in man? Scripture tells us that by our works we shall be known. That's Matthew chapter 7, 15 through 20. Where is Obama's fruit? I think it can be reasonably argued that if he were a Christian following after Jesus, there would be no questions about his faith. If his actions were Christ-like, people wouldn't question whether or not he is a Muslim. This isn't about color or race. There are many persons of color in very public capacities that do not have these questions swirling around them. America is in need of truly godly leaders, and the fact that we are lacking same is evidenced by the condition of our country finds itself in today. America is rapidly becoming a place where Christians need not apply. The country is the recipient of what the church is producing. If Obama had spent 20 years under a truly God-fearing, Bible-preaching, Christ-filled pastor, would we today have these questions? Obviously, we cannot say with absolute certainty that wouldn't be the case, but I submit the chances greatly favor that we wouldn't. A true Christian is more concerned about the eternal benefits of service than about endorsing behaviors and teachings that are antithetical to the God of Scripture. God doesn't care what color a person is, nor whether you are a man, woman, or child. He cares that we accept his son, lead others to him, and live Christ-centered lives that makes others want to be like that which they see in us. Specific to that point, I see nothing in Obama I want to be like. Now, next, we're going to be going to another segment of the Molotov Mitchell videos. And the reason I'm doing this today, he's going to be talking about treason. And we're going to talk about, are there grounds for the impeachment of Barack Hussein Obama at this point? So with that being said, we're going to move along to Molotov Mitchell.
I recently traveled to Arizona to find out firsthand just how bad the illegal immigration situation is. And let me tell you, it is bad. People are literally dying every day on that border. And cartels from Mexico are putting out bounties on our citizens, on our border patrol, on our sheriffs. Ranchers and deputies are getting shot by illegals. So how does Obama respond? Does he A, secure the border, or B, apologize and start up a reparations fund for all the Arizonans who've been impacted by his deadly inaction, or C, side with the cartels and sue Arizona? Obama's bad, but did you know that he was this bad? I mean, there is a literal war down there on that border, replete with decapitated bodies, countless rape victims, and a literal slave trade down there. And like any war, there are two sides. On the one hand, you have the bloodthirsty, life is cheap Mexican cartels, and on the other side, you have the law-abiding American citizens who've been invaded, and I use that word advisedly. We are not crossing into their backyards, they are crossing into ours. And for Barack Obama, who is currently responsible for securing that border, for him to stab his own citizens in the back defines the word treason. Now, for those of you who watch For the Record regularly, you know I'm not the type of guy to just throw that word around, but there it is. And Arizona Sheriff Paul Babeu is right when he says, quote, "Our own government has become our enemy." Sarah Palin recently quipped that Obama doesn't have cojones, and I hear where she's coming from. If you Google the word panty waist, 4 of the first 10 pictures that pop up showcase our historic president. But in this case, I think Obama's pretty bold to commit treason in front of the entire country. I don't like to toss around the word treason, and I can guarantee Sheriff Babeu doesn't like saying that our government has become our enemy. But what else can you call it when Washington demoralizes our own troops and empowers foreign invaders to kill them? Oh, my fellow Americans, remember, the 2nd of November. For the record!
And you're back with me, Chris Levels, on Politics and Prophecy. And we are going to document some of the grounds for impeachment against Barack Obama. And as we start off, this was actually giving credit for the article. It goes to Bob Unruh of WorldNet Daily. And he starts off by saying, lying, bribing, subverting election laws, payoffs, aiding the nation's enemies, seeking the abrogation of the U.S. Constitution. Which of these does not fall under the high crimes and misdemeanors required in the nation's founding documents for the removal of a sitting president? Ask a new special report. The case for impeachment, why Barack Hussein Obama should be impeached to save America, by Stephen Baldwin, covers all of these issues and more in making its arguments. This is the beginning of the end for the United States unless the people exercise their precious remaining liberties and stand and demand that their elected representatives impeach this president before further mortal damage is inflicted upon America, the report concludes. Despite all the checks and balances and obstacles they put in place, the founders knew a determined cabal could still gain control of all 3 branches of government and wield this consolidation of power to dismantle our cherished constitutional principles and eradicate the freedoms that generations of Americans sacrificed their lives to preserve, he writes. Make no mistake, that day is upon us. Among the factors that Americans should consider when thinking about whether or not this man should be impeached are these: Obama's violations of federal campaign and ethics laws, including the offers from his administration to Democratic U.S. Representative Joe Stack, who reported he was offered a high-ranking government job, to drop his opposition in the Pennsylvania state primary to sitting Senator Arlen Specter. Obama's effort to persuade the Illinois governor to fill the vacated Senate seat with his longtime advisor, Valerie Jarrett. Suggestions from Obama's own Federal Election Commission documentation that he got at least $33.8 million for his campaign from disallowed foreign contributions, including 520 contributions from interest in Iran, as well as $30,000 from the Hamas-controlled Gaza area. Now, some of you have short memories, some of us don't. But I remember when Ahmadinejad was very happy that Obama won the election. And reasonably so. We see now that Iran has moved forward in their struggle to get nuclear weapons. They're enriching uranium now. And Obama has done nothing about it except talk. But I believe somebody else tried that back in the 1930s. His name was Neville Chamberlain, and he signed an agreement with Hitler in 1938 and came back and he said that we have peace in our time. We know how that one turned out, don't we? So let me continue. Obama fired an inspector general, Gerald Walpin, after he exposed corruption linked to one of Obama's buddies, Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson. The president's system of rewarding supporters has come under question. The report confirms more than 70 individuals who raised $50,000 or more for Obama have been rewarded with ambassadorships or high-ranking jobs. The report documents how Obama's actions even may have endangered Americans by treating the war on terrorism as a criminal matter and downplaying the war on terrorism. Speaking of which, at the beginning of this program, I talked about the pastor in Florida and the fact that you even have someone like General McChrystal saying that he's going to endanger our troops by burning a book. Well, let me say that I think that our troops are more in danger by so-called rules of engagement that tell our soldiers that we can't shoot somebody unless they're shooting at us, that we're not even going to call these people terrorists. We're going to call them enemy combatants. Their acts are not terrorism. It is man-made, man-caused disasters. My argument here is that what Obama has done in pursuing this war since he's been in charge of it, in fact, it was the war that he said was supposed to be the right war instead of being in Iraq. I feel that his actions are undermining our troops more so than anything that this man in Florida could do. This attitude has manifested itself in a number of ways. Obama's casual attitude may have encouraged domestic terrorist attacks, such as November 5th, 2009 Fort Hood shooting by Major Nidal Malik Hassan that left 13 American personnel dead. His Department of Homeland Security also has described veterans and other law-abiding Americans as right-wing extremists, the report says. Further, the report explains how the U.S. State Department gave a grant to the Al-Quds television network owned by the terrorist group Hamas and invited them to the U.S. to produce a propaganda film. Samantha Power, who once referred to the U.S. presence in Iraq as an occupation, even as she favored sending troops to Israel to forcibly impose a Palestinian state, was appointed by Obama to the National Security Council, the report says. And the report reveals how rapper Jay-Z and Beyonce were photographed sitting around the Situation Room, the confidential White House location filled with top secret communications equipment that allows the tracking of terror threats worldwide. Access to the room normally requires a high security clearance level. Now, I know some of you out there may be fans of Jay-Z and Beyonce, but I seriously doubt that they have been or had background checks on them that would allow them to be sitting in sensitive areas like this. But if you treat the White House, if you treat your position as a joke, then I guess you do things like this. And how is it, now that I think about that, I remember those two people that came to some dinner they crashed at, got through all the Social Security, and were escorted out or whatever, but why do these things keep happening? But when you treat the White House like a joke, I guess these things do. Many of Obama's actions, if they do not flat out violate the Constitution, certainly undermine the spirit and intent of the Constitution as envisioned by our founding fathers, the report explains. And his fiscal policies are causing unprecedented damage to America's financial health and to our reputation abroad. The president even has changed history to remove Christian references, the report explains. In his July 10 Easter greeting message, Obama quoted from a sermon given by a military pastor on Iwo Jima in 1945. However, he removed passages dealing with Christian doctrine, like Christ's resurrection, in order to make the quote appealing to all religions, even though Easter is not a multicultural event. It's a Christian event. Obama altered a great historical quote in order to serve his multicultural worldview. Apparently, he is embarrassed by America's Christian heritage. The report also has extensive sections on Democrats' new health care law and what it means, as well as immigration. President Barack Obama has proven to be incompetent, reckless, deceitful, and naive when it comes to making economic decisions and protecting America's security interest. His history of corruption, power grabbing, and misleading the American people have created a pattern we believe jeopardizes America, the report says. This report reveals a pattern that demonstrates Obama is constantly engaging in actions that reflect a hard left ideology antithetical to America's founding principles. Obama is clearly dismissive of America's constitutional principles and obviously dislikes the role America plays in the world. He dislikes our Judeo-Christian heritage and detests America's historical allies. As proof, well, we're going to get to the proof of a lot of this. We're going to get deeper later in the show. Less than halfway through his first term, Obama has done more damage to America than any previous president in history. Some of the damage can be repaired. Some can't. Some of his policies will haunt generations to come, the report says. It's time for the American people to rise up and demand Congress impeach him. The name of the report is The Case for Impeachment: Why Barack Hussein Obama Should Be Impeached to Save America, and it is by Stephen Baldwin. So, with that being said, we are going to go back to Reverend Manning and hear about Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin and why you as an American should pray for this man, as well as help him financially if you can in his own defense, because he's not really getting any justice out there right now from those that have been set above him. So let's go now back to Reverend Manning.
On yesterday in a courtroom in Fort Meade, Maryland, Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Terry Lakin faced court-martial charges in the opening process of his trial, and he met Army Colonel Denise R. Lynn, who ruled on yesterday that the lieutenant could not introduce any evidence or information as a defense that Barack Hussein Obama is not a natural-born citizen, nor could he request the records regarding Obama's college transcripts, his birth certificate, passports as they were up until 1985, or any other relevant information about his travels in Jakarta, or what his name may or may not be, or the alleged birth certificate that is in the Honolulu vault. The judge ruled emphatically that there will be no opportunity to discover that evidence, which is all of our constitutional rights to be able to face our accusers and have the appropriate discovery of evidence. Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin has been denied his constitutional rights. Moreover, the judge went a step further and demonstrated or ruled that Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin could not present any witnesses that could testify to any of the items that I just outlined. And as you know, the Lieutenant Colonel refused to deploy to Afghanistan because he believed that Mr. Barack Obama does not have the constitutional authority to order him into battle, inasmuch as that he is not a natural-born citizen and that his presidency is a criminal act and has been from the very beginning. But the very fact that this judge, Denise R. Lynn, has ruled that Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin cannot use any of this evidence as a defense. He's left without a defense. Moreover, the judge told Lieutenant Colonel Lakin that he needs to get another defense. Well, what other defense is there? Well, that I certainly cannot appreciate, will not swallow. But we are watching a grave miscarriage of justice going on now regarding constitutional rights when it comes to certain people in great power. But here is the greatest outrage of the year. Building the mosque at Ground Zero is certainly an horrendous outrage, but here's the greatest outrage of the year. The very fact that this man who has put his life and career on the line to stand up because he believes in his heart, and I know as factual evidence because I conducted a trial that brought out the very evidence that Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin wishes to produce in his trial that demonstrated unequivocally, leaving no reasonable room for doubt, but overshadowing anyone who may think that Mr. Obama is a natural born citizen. All doubts, all thoughts are removed. He is not. However, here, what we have now is a nation that is allowing this man who's put his life and career on the line to be railroaded and to lose his life, very possibly to be destroyed. Now here, I've got some things I want to say, and I want you to hear me and hear me clearly. There is such a phony outrage going on in our nation over Mr. Obama, but no one wishes to stand up and declare their outrage over the way the courts have been manipulated by the Obama administration. There was a Restoring Honor march or picnic in Washington this past Saturday, and I want to ask you, now you can take whatever side you want to take on this, but I want to ask you, you're an American citizen, you're a patriot. I want to ask you, during that vast ceremony of over 500,000 alleged patriots, constitutionally loving Americans who were there at that ceremony this past Saturday, why is it that Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin was not a guest of honor? Why is it that he was not honored at that ceremony? Why is it that his name was not mentioned at that event? Why is it that 500,000 people came alleging to be patriots, alleging to be restoring America, and here is a man who is standing in an honorable way? In fact, Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin is the most honorable man in America today, yet the crowd of 500,000 and its guru leader, Messianic Glenn Beck, failed to recognize it. It is hypocrisy at the greatest level. It is hypocrisy, my brothers and my sisters, at the highest level that this is going on in our nation. Moreover, the media has been co-opted. Not only is Judge Denise Lynn, she's been co-opted, but the media refuses. They cover trivial stories, meaningless stories, hours after hour with no impact or importance for the American public. And yet they will not do one story, all of the pundits, and there's not one candidate that is presently running for office that has mentioned the outrage and the railroading court-martial that is happening to Lieutenant Terry Lakin. The pundits, the Tea Party, you'll remember the Tea Party got started, first of all, raising the question of where is the birth certificate. Indeed, Mickey Booth, who was a Republican candidate for Congress in Oklahoma, went to the Tea Party meeting in Tennessee, Nashville, and raised that on the conference floor. Where is the doggone birth certificate? But now you can't get a Tea Party member to talk about the birth certificate. Listen, we have got a criminal sitting in the White House. His name is Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama. And for people to run around and talk about we're going to change Congress, we're going to change the Senate, we're going to take over the House, take over the Senate, and all of this hullabaloo about Sarah Palin and others who are winning elections all over America is nothing but the highest level of hypocrisy that I've ever seen in my life, because the ultimate crime here in America, the ultimate need to be addressed, is the fact that we have a non-natural born citizen who's not constitutionally eligible to serve. Now, here, listen to this. You listen to this. This man has co-opted, he has shut down the media, and every politician running that will not raise the issue of Terry Lakin being court-martialed, his defense. And aren't we innocent until, found guilty? Should not there be someone of all the candidates running for Congress on the Tea Party line or the Republican conservative line, should not there be at least one radio talk show host, at least one television, Glenn Beck or Sean Hannity or Bill O'Reilly, or someone who will at least mention the fact that Terry Lakin is being court-martialed, and whether he's guilty or innocent remains to be seen? No, they've already been sold out and co-opted under the maniacal, tyrannical, communist power, Marxist Islamic dogma of Barack Hussein Obama. And my friends, let me tell you something. I'm going to say something to you. Look at here. That picnic on Saturday was an outrage. The fact that Lieutenant Terry Lakin is languishing for his life, and no one thought to give him any honor this past Saturday, and no one is going to give him. They're going to allow this to take place. You're going to allow it to take place. I'm not upset with Obama about this. I'm not upset with Judge Lynn about this. I'm not upset with the pundits on television and the phony messiahs on television. But I am outraged at the American people allowing this man to go down the tube, and you're running around following these people and tuning in to these talk show people and not demanding that there be some defense, not demanding that this man be able to have discovery. My friends, I want to tell you something. I'll tell you this from the civil rights movement. I'll tell you this from the Jim Crow period. If they do it to Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin today, they're going to do it to you and your children tomorrow. You need to stop that long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, and you need to call those people who are now caught up in a web of lies and hypocrisy in the media, in business, in courts, in the Congress. They need to be called to task, and it doesn't matter who you send to Congress this year. If they have denied Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin justice, I don't care who it is that you send from the Tea Party to Congress, they are worse than a hypocrite, and they do not deserve the right to sit in Congress and preside or make laws when they allow Barack Hussein Obama to be the biggest criminal that have ever walked the face of this earth, and yet their campaign does not address it, and they're allowing this man to go to prison or even lose his life, and they have remained silent. Let me say something to you about that picnic on Saturday. Jesus Christ was not in it, and Jesus he will not allow anyone to think that victory will be won by some self-evaluating process and never standing up to face the enemy. The Bible is the sword, and it cuts between the bone and the marrow, and blood shall run even at the orders of the Lord Jesus Christ. And it's certainly, that picnic was not the kind of event that would have saved this nation during the revolutionary crisis. My friends, we need to go to battle. We're at war. And someone is telling us to act like Buddhist monks and just sit there and let them burn us at the stake. No! Where is the outrage over Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin? That's what I want to know. I'm James David Manning. This is the Manning Report. If you didn't get Hurricane Earl, you got Hurricane Manning.
You got Hurricane Manning instead of Hurricane Earl. All right. Now, again, I said I was going to talk about reasons and backing up why Obama should be impeached right now if we were doing the right things. But this man named Scott Johns really puts it into perspective in terms of giving an unobjective, or I should say an objective, look at the presidency and what's happened in less than 2 years of this man being in charge of the White House. He says, I was commenting on someone else's picture, a picture of Obama not saluting the flag or even paying attention during the playing of the national anthem. And I was reading through the comments. Someone said something to the effect of, Why does everyone criticize our leader? Who would even want to be president with all this criticism? So needless to say, although I did not know the woman who made the comment, I felt compelled to write this, a sort of report card, just a few things that came to me off the top of my head. And yes, you can share this. And this is what he wrote back to the woman. I read your comment on the picture of Obama not saluting the flag or even paying attention, and I have this to say. Obama sucks. He is corrupt, crooked, a liar. And the answer to your question? I don't want the government doing anything for me. They screw up everything they get involved in aside from the military. They're even screwing up the military. Examples, Social Security is broke, and they're talking about raising the retirement age. Medicare and Medicaid are insolvent. The post office loses billions. They ran Amtrak in the ground, and they have never done anything on budget. Everything costs more than they plan. They waste money and pay off their political supporters. That is all they do. We send stimulus checks to people in prison and to many who are dead. The government is filled with incompetent people who, for the most part, couldn't even survive in the private sector due to said incompetence. Yes, there are some good ones, but they are the exception, not the rule. Number one, Obama is for cap and trade, which even according to him, in his own words, will make electricity prices necessarily skyrocket. How good an idea is that? It is going to raise the price of everything because everything is made with energy, and will send more jobs overseas as our products become even more expensive because the unions have caused the cost to produce anything they are involved in making go up. I am in the t-shirt business. T-shirts used to be made all over this country. We had a couple of plants here in Kentucky. They're gone now. Fruit of the Loom, Hanes, Russell, can't even make shirts here anymore. They're almost all made in Central America due to Democrats and unions making them close their doors. Two, the size of government is exploding. They are hiring 15,000 new federal employees every week. Who is paying for that? You, if you're paying taxes. The average federal employee makes almost $80,000. That is ridiculous, and that is just the average. Imagine how much some of these people get paid to think up ways to control you. 3, Obama does not respect the Constitution and refuses to enforce the law he swore on the Bible he upheld. 4, this man pretended to be a Christian to get elected, but has been to church a total of 5 times in 18 months. Oh, but he has had 6 vacations since July. He claimed to the world that we are not a Christian nation, although we are nearly 80% Christian. Less than 2 weeks later, he claimed in Egypt that we are one of the largest Muslim countries in the world. Yeah, we're Muslim, all right, on the basis of having a few million of them here. Number 5, he waited 8 days to even mention that there was a spill in the Gulf and refused many countries' offers to help us out. His inaction and incompetence have ruined beaches, marshes, lakes, killed animals, and ruined the oil industry through his moratorium that was struck down. Are we sure this guy really went to Harvard? The fishing and tourism industries are decimated, and it is his fault. I know what his plan was: make more people dependent on the government in 5 red states, although Florida is sometimes blue, to convert some conservatives by making them look to him for goodies. Number 6, unemployment remains around 10. And he and his economic advisors promised us it would not go above 8% if we spent over $800 billion. He flew to Detroit to announce 300 new jobs, which were created at the cost of $833,000 each. A complete waste of taxpayer dollars. 7, He got $68 million from labor unions and has done nothing but promote unions and pay them off with stimulus money. Every dollar mandated to be only paid to companies that pay prevailing wage. 8. He has promoted a takeover of health care which has prolonged an economic recovery, taxing us for 10 years while providing benefits for only 6. His health care czar has praised the system in the UK, which by all accounts is a disaster. Where rationing is practiced, people die in the hospitals there awaiting treatment for things that are easily treatable here. Specifically, men with prostate cancer are much more likely to survive here than there. And that goes to many other things, whether it be hip replacements or breast cancer patients, all kind of things down the line. The waiting list over there are horrendous. You need to really look into the British healthcare industry that has been held up as a standard for where we want to go. But by the elites, they do want to take us there. By the way, they won't be part of it. Number 10. General McChrystal asked for 40,000 troops last August, and Obama waited until December to grant 30,000. And here we are, 8 months later, and less than 10,000 have been deployed. Meanwhile, the death toll to our troops on Obama's watch are going up, and we have over 1.2 million troops not fighting a war anywhere. And we can't find 30,000 troops in over 8 months. People who voted for this inexperienced clown, who never has even had so much as an assistant manager of a lemonade stand, they have blood on their hands. This man has bowed to the Saudi king, although he denied doing it. That makes him a liar. Bowed to the Japanese emperor, bought a DVD collection for the British prime minister, DVDs that won't even play on their own DVD players there, and spent 6 months touring the world apologizing for all the wrongs we as a country have been guilty of. I guess he forgot that when the tsunami hit Indonesia, we were there, that we have spent years raising money to fight malaria and famine in Africa, have given money to almost every country that asked for it, most recently to Pakistan, who secretly promotes the Taliban, rushed to help Haiti when an earthquake hit them, liberated Europe, and more recently Kuwait, and countless other examples. Number 12, North Korea and Iran. 2 rogue nations are openly pursuing nuclear weapons, which no doubt will start World War III once Israel is hit. And what about South Korea? To be so anti-war, every day this man does nothing. The world and you are a little more unsafe. Number 13, he was against the war in Iraq and yet claimed, via crazy Joe Biden, the success in Iraq was his crowning achievement. His crowning achievement is an increasing death rate among our troops? Just checking. Number 14, he has proposed spending increases in every single area but 2, the military and NASA. We're fighting 2 wars, and this guy wants to cut military spending. And he cut NASA's budget and made their most important mission, according to the NASA administrator, to reach out to Muslim nations to make them feel good about their contributions to science. Whatever happened to sending rockets into space? And why are Muslim nations singled out? Because he is a Muslim. 15, he has divided this country, suing states and fueling racism. Remember the cop who acted stupidly? Yeah. That was a black man who allegedly was mistreated by a white police officer. But what did he say when the new Black Panther Party was caught on videotape intimidating voters carrying batons at the polls? He had the Justice Department drop the charges, and to this day has yet to speak out against what the Black Panthers did right on videotape for all to see. Number 16. Obama has had more deficit spending in his first year than any 4 of Bush's 8 years. Although he criticized Bush's spending, which admittedly was too high, spending he voted for when he was a senator, and that's what a lot of people forget. Our electorate is so ignorant, so misinformed today that they want to talk about Bush's budget. They want to talk about even Obama's budget. But folks, for those of you that weren't fortunate enough to get government classes in school, the legislature controls the budgets, not the presidents. Okay? He can veto things, but it is the legislature where the budgets are created, where bills are created. So the only thing a sitting president can do is actually veto things and not let it occur under his watch. But just take that with you. Understand next time you want to say no, and even next time you hear Obama, because he knows that most of you are not educated enough to understand that concept. So he'll tell you that this is Bush's mess. He'll get out there on stage with a broom talking about he's cleaning up the mess and that people should just get out of his way. Don't fall for the lies and hypocrisy, people. Educate yourselves. Now, he is a hypocrite and a corrupt liar. Number 17, he defended himself for not having time to react quicker to the oil spill because we had 2 wars, a recession, etc. But he had all those things when he flew to Norway to accept the Nobel Peace Prize he did nothing to earn. Got involved in trying to get the Olympics to come to Chicago, which was the first city eliminated from consideration, has plenty of time for golf. He has played more golf in 18 months than Bush played in 8 years. Time to play basketball, time to fly all over the world. No president has ever traveled as much as Obama in their first 18 months. And I believe that the reason for this is because this man sees himself as a citizen of the world, actually would like to be president of the world. He doesn't consider himself an American. He considers himself a global citizen. Time for vacations out the wazoo. Time to get involved in the cops acting stupidly in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Time to fly to New York to go to a play. Time for parties every Wednesday night at the White House on our dime during a recession. Time to go on The View, Letterman, Jay Leno. Time for town hall meetings every other day and bussing people in to make people think that people actually support this moron. But no time to react to the Gulf oil spill. Right. 18. His stimulus was supposed to be for American jobs, including many billions for a high-speed rail system between Vegas and L.A., to reward Nancy Pelosi of California and Harry Reid of Nevada. And guess who got the contract? If you said a Chinese company, you would be right. This week, it was revealed that European banks benefited more from the stimulus bill than monies their own governments give them. A Swedish car company got billions to build cars in Sweden. That stimulus has done nothing to create jobs. Nothing. Oh, aside from union workers, teachers, police, firefighters, and road construction workers. All union. Now we hear about created or saved jobs, which is impossible to prove. And when the money runs out, what then? More stimulus? It's a joke. How about treat the disease, not the symptoms? Now there is an idea. 19, he claimed, lied through his teeth, that Bill Ayers was just a guy who lives in my neighborhood. But we know the truth. He sat on 2 boards with Bill Ayers, an admitted unrepentant terrorist, and claimed that he sat in a pew for 20 years, but claims he never heard the hateful pro-racist statements made by his pastor. The Reverend Jeremiah Wright, which is another blatant lie. And now he has surrounded himself with Marxists, socialists, including one such person, term used liberally, who claimed Chairman Mao, a murderous tyrant who is responsible for the death of millions, is someone she looks up to. Oh, did I forget to mention that Valerie Jarrett is one of Ayers' buddies? How big is Chicago? People in small rural towns don't bump into people as often as Ayers and Obama have. And let's not forget that Obama kicked off his political career in the living room of this man. You know, just a guy in my neighborhood. 20. There is a man in prison named Tony Rezko. He is in prison for buying politicians. Obama bought a little piece of property conveniently on the same day and next door to a lot Resco bought. Soon thereafter, Obama had a slice of that lot deeded to him by Resco, making Resco's lot unmarketable. 21. He promised not to have any lobbyists in his administration and has done nothing but hire lobbyists since he got the job. 22. Obama has spent the summer touting this to be the summer of recovery. Unemployment claims have gone up now 4 weeks in a row, and nobody believes we are in a recovery. But that doesn't stop him from saying it, something not even that clown believes. So this shows that either he is either lying or misinformed. Doesn't unemployment usually go down in a recovery? That's what I thought. He's an inexperienced leader, but one thing he is experienced in is lying through his teeth. 23, everything this clown does is against public sentiment, and the Dems are going to pay the price on November 2nd. Write that down. The people are against Obamacare. Over 65% still want it repealed. Cap and trade, card check, and countless other decisions and action he has made or taken. He claimed he was going to put every bill online for 5 days before signing it, and very rarely has followed up on that promise. When the stimulus bill passed to reward unions, but be paid for by everybody, he flew to Denver and wasted millions of dollars to stage a big signing. He claimed he was going to have all these open-door meetings regarding Obamacare and even put them on CNN, on C-SPAN. But did you see those meetings? Nope. The only thing that took place was payoffs to buy votes in Arkansas, Nebraska, Florida, and other states, and arm twisting to get people to do what he wanted, which is going to incidentally cost many of those corrupt, lying idiots their job November 2nd. 25, he promotes green jobs, an industry that is not economically viable. If it was viable, the free markets, a unique concept for this clown, would have brought it to the market. Wind is more expensive, so is solar, so are hybrids. During a recession, we don't need to be bringing more expensive energy to market. Suppliers do what is cheaper, not try and figure out the most expensive ways they can think of to heat our homes. 26, he tells people to vacation in the Gulf. But since saying that, he has already taken several trips to New England to patronize liberals, and his wife spent over $200,000 going to Spain. Sure, they have a 3-day golf trip planned, 3 days, and right now he is in Martha Vineyards. He doesn't want to do anything to support conservatives which populate the South. You want transparency? There is your transparency. 27, economists agree. Allowing the Bush tax cuts to expire will hurt the economy, but that doesn't stop Obama. He never saw a tax bill he didn't like and never saw a spending bill he didn't love. Oh, except for when it comes to the military or NASA. When taxes go up, spending in the private sector goes down, and all that happens is government gets bigger and more powerful. When people spend less, other people lose their jobs. And what does that do? Create Democratic supporters who need the government. They need the government to fill the void. Such a proposal to let the cuts expire is insane, wrong, and designed to make the people dependent. 28. He promised not to raise our taxes one dime. Not any tax if you made less than $250,000 a couple or $200,000 by yourself. Do you even want me to list the taxes he has either implemented or imposed, from cigarettes to tanning bed usage? He wants to tax fuel, energy, and everything that moves gets taxed by this clown. And if you make minimum wage, this moron has raised your taxes if you smoke. So we are coming to the conclusion of this show. And actually, I had one more, so let me get to it. He wants to basically tell us what to eat with the idea that it's going to make us healthier and mandate that we get checkups at the doctor once Obamacare is enacted. But what about speaking out about things like homosexuality, which raises the risk that you will get AIDS and have very expensive treatments on your way to dying because of your sexual preferences? Oh, but he wants to take away your sugar and salt. Yeah, makes perfect sense. It costs an average of $600,000 to treat AIDS. That is per patient. I'm just saying, if you're going to tell Heinz how much salt they can put in ketchup, The last time I checked salt, it wasn't deadly. Then tell men they can't sleep with other men. When is the last time someone died from eating salt? My great-grandparents all lived to celebrate their 100th birthday, and they didn't have the government tell them what to eat. For the record, I do not advocate the government making homosexuality illegal. I'm just making a point of how utterly hypocritical his positions are. I have many homosexual friends, and I'm not making a moral judgment, but even someone who's gay must accept that AIDS is more prevalent among them. And, well, you can Google the costs. So there you go. As we're wrapping up here, I want to say, come join me next